In addition to all of the incredible heroes we've introduced you to today, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge our signature event sponsors at the top level. I am pleased to be able to introduce you to several incredible people who've not only generously sponsored this event, but they also have been longtime movement leaders, donors, activists, storytellers. They are an incredible group of people, and it is my pleasure to introduce them to you. Betty Rollin both has used the power of the pen and her notoriety to help move this movement forward. She's been an extremely generous donor and contributor, and she's also been an activist nationwide, but also specifically in our New York campaign. She truly is a friend and a partner to this movement and has been for decades, and it is such a pleasure to me that you get a chance to hear from her once again.
Thank you to all those heroes of the movement who get it, because so much of this has to do with understanding, and it's so difficult to understand how a person feels when they're at the end of life, miserable, suffering, desperate to get out, but can't get out of life because it's a law that you can't end your suffering. And the people who have supported this movement to rescue those people are heroes, and I thank them.
Betty Rollin has lived a life of achievement, accomplishment. She's a journalist. She was a correspondent for both NBC and ABC, and a best-selling author. In my book, she definitely is a hero. Also a pioneer, and I would say even a prophet, because she sees injustice and she speaks up. And she speaks up, she has spoken up, long before other people can muster the insight to see the problem and the courage to speak about it. Real courage, a passion for justice, loyalty. Betty has lived her principles and her devotion to the people she loves. Thank you, Betty.
So today I want to share a little bit with you about Barbara Mislin, who is also known as the Purple Lady, and I am wearing purple today in her honor. What I love most about the Purple Lady is that she manages to infuse this world with so much positivity. She's someone who has taken negative experiences and turned them into the positive. But as importantly, each time we had a significant need, she has always responded to the call by figuring out how it is that she can support us.
I understand the grief that is involved in loss, and I want anyone who can be spared that grief through the release of suffering to have the support of Compassion and Choices, which I think is one of the best organizations on the planet. May I encourage all of you to do whatever you can, whether it is as a volunteer, or as a donor, or as someone who shares this kind of information with other people. Do what you can to make this a better world. Do what you can to relieve the suffering of people who are terminally ill. Everyone should have the right to determine how they end their lives and to be able to do it with dignity and comfort.
The first time the Purple Lady made a contribution to Compassion and Choices, it was actually Compassion in Dying, and we were in a little office in Seattle. We were just two people, our budget was very small, our mission was very large. The letters were opened by my associate in the other room. She opened the envelope from the Purple Lady and she came in so joyful and said, "Look, look," and she handed me the envelope and out spilled these purple stars and purple hearts, along with the check for her contribution. That was the first contribution from the Purple Lady, and each one has been accompanied by her spirit, exemplified by purple hearts, stars, and rainbows. Purple Lady is no stranger to tragedy and trauma, and she honors her mother and her brother with this gift today. She faces tragedies squarely, with the understanding that we are not ever to give up our birthright to joy. Through the years, she's been my anchor, my wings, my inspiration, and I'm so happy to say, my friend.
I'd like to tell you all about Betsy Van Dorn and her involvement in this movement, and I know many of you know her. Betsy has been involved in this movement for 2 decades. When I became the CEO, she was already on the board, and she had recently come on board as the development chair. And Betsy was, for me, one of the most incredible people to have by my side throughout my time as the CEO of Compassion and Choices. There's no person who has more conviction than Betsy. She was clear about what it was that she wanted. She also was incredibly feisty, funny. She was known for her limericks. She was known for her honesty and her candor, but also her tact. Betsy, for me, was she was a friend, and she was a friend to so many people in this movement. And it's hard for me to imagine life without Betsy, but fortunately I don't have to, because I carry her in my heart, as I know so many of you do.
I met Betsy Van Dorn over 20 years ago. In the year 2000, the World Federation of Right to Die Societies met in Boston. And I gave a little talk. Betsy came up after my talk and said, I love your issue. I want to help. I want to help you raise money. This was music to my ears. We were just a fledgling organization. We were fighting battles on many fronts. We barely had time to raise money, but we of course had to. And Betsy was true to her word. She did help us raise money. And in the course of the next 20 years, I got to know Betsy, and what a privilege. One thing that Betsy loved was a good limerick, and she wrote them all the time. So I thought one way to honor Betsy would be with a limerick dedicated to her. Let me tell you of Betsy Van Dorn, the best and the brightest airborne, so wise, kind, and generous, and don't forget cleverness. When she left, we were greatly forlorn. That's Betsy. Betsy Van Dorn, Betty Rollin, Barbara Mysam, the Purple Lady. We hold those 3 up to date. But the truth of the matter is, our movement is filled with heroes, and many of the heroes are on this call today. You are all heroic for seeing the issues that we face and helping us to overcome the obstacles in our way, helping us meet our mission every day. Thank you so much.